A simple girl came to the floristry festival without even hoping to participate. But imagine her surprise when the top international VIP judge himself walked up to her stand, took her work, and placed it in first position on the main podium. This is Lunar Report, and now I'm handing it back to the studio.
Claire walked through the side entrance. No spotlight followed her. No one looked up. She wore worn-out sneakers, a gray hoodie with a coffee stain on the sleeve, and a cardboard box pressed to her chest like it held something breakable. Her badge dangled, Claire S. Fire, volunteer. Nobody stopped her, not yet. Inside, the festival was in full swing, but Claire didn't pause to look. She just kept walking until she reached a quiet edge of the exhibit hall, near the emergency exit. The box felt heavier now. She knelt. Inside were no rare imports, no color-corrected petals or plastic tubes. Just stems, wet, breathing, alive. Cornflowers, daisies, dahlias, tansy, wormwood. She lifted them out like she was remembering something. Nearby, someone noticed. "Is she lost?" a British voice asked behind her. Claire set the box down and pulled a string of mint through her fingers. Her hands were cracked, unmanicured. No gloves, no tools. "What's she doing?" Another voice, clipped, amused. "She brought weeds?" Someone laughed. "Maybe it's an installation on climate grief." Claire didn't respond. She pressed 3 stems together, mint, dahlia, wormwood, and tied them gently with a strand of dry grass. No foam, no floral tape, just touch. Across the hall, a team from Tokyo sprayed perfume into the air. A London studio adjusted their roses with laser-guided tweezers. The New York reps ran diagnostics on petal alignment. Claire tied another stem to a daisy, then looked up, not at them, but at something invisible above her, like she was asking permission. More people turned, phones came out. Someone finally asked, "Who let her in?" A staff member walked over, annoyed. "This zone is reserved. You need clearance to what even is this?" Claire said nothing. She just kept going. The stems leaned toward each other like they were born that way. There was no symmetry, no centerpiece, just balance. The kind you only find in ditches, not design schools. By now she had 3 bunches. No base, no message board, just the smell of crushed wormwood and summer wind. A child crouched nearby, watching. Claire looked up and smiled. From the far end of the hall, a man entered with a cane, old, elegant, walking slowly. His name was Louis Montre. He didn't stop at the gold towers or orchid spirals. He walked past them. He walked straight toward her. Louis Montre didn't ask anyone's permission. He moved past floral pyramids that took teams 6 months to design, past holographic peony projections, past the London installation that pulsed in sync with Baroque music. He walked with a cane carved from driftwood, and his shoes clicked like punctuation. Then he stopped. Not in front of the spotlight, not in front of the $1,000 displays. He stopped at a girl with a cardboard box. Claire looked up. Silence stretched, people whispered, a camera beeped. Montre didn't speak at first. He just stood there, staring. Then, slowly, he bent down. His hand trembled as he touched the bouquet, not to rearrange, not to critique, but like a man touching a relic, reverently. He closed his eyes. Around them, the air changed. You could feel it. Even the New York interns stopped smirking. Even the Tokyo lead lowered her spray bottle. Claire didn't move. She waited. Montre whispered, "This is not a composition." Someone near him frowned. "Excuse me." He opened his eyes. "This is memory. Someone lived this. These flowers were not selected, they were remembered." A journalist leaned in. "But there's no structure, no wire, no cohesion." Montre stood upright. "Exactly." He picked up Claire's bouquet. A wave went through the hall. People thought he was going to carry it to her, or return it. He didn't. Louis Montre turned, walked 20 feet, and placed the field bouquet on the main platform. The central podium, where the winner's display was meant to go. Flash. Every camera in the room turned. A few gasps. One studio director muttered, "That's not regulation." Another tried to protest, "It's not even hydrated." But no one stepped forward to remove it. Claire still knelt on the floor. Her fingers were dirty. Her box was almost empty. She looked at the podium, then at her hands, as if trying to understand what just happened. She didn't speak. She didn't smile. She looked calm, like someone who had planted something and watched it bloom. Across the hall, a screen flickered. Breaking news. Legendary florist Louis Montre crowns unknown girl's wild bouquet as centerpiece of festival. The caption below read, "Emotion over technique." And then came the tide. People moved. A crowd gathered around Claire's space. Journalists shoved microphones into the air. Cameras clicked like insects in a frenzy. Someone asked, "Where did you buy those?" She finally spoke. "I didn't. I grew them." The answer wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even loud. But somehow, it traveled, like water spilled on marble. One journalist blinked. "You grew them, as in yourself?" Claire nodded. "In Joliet, behind my aunt's house. The soil's rocky, but the wormwood likes it." Someone from Vogue pushed forward, phone raised. "Are you saying this bouquet wasn't curated? No seed map, no climate control?" "No," Claire said, "it's not a bouquet, it's just what was blooming this week." She might as well have dropped a match into a puddle of perfume. The crowd rippled. Reactions split. On one side, awe. On the other, anger. "She's lying," hissed a stylist from Milan. "It's staged. There's no way a volunteer grows something like that." "She must have done this on purpose," said a New York assistant. "This is a stunt." "She's not even accredited," a Tokyo designer snapped. "Where's her permit? Who's her sponsor?" But Louis Montreux said nothing. He simply stood behind the bouquet. His presence, like old stone, made it clear this wasn't up for debate. Meanwhile, Claire sat cross-legged now, the box beside her. It was nearly empty, just a few sprigs left. She watched as her flowers, her home, were photographed by the world's top fashion editors. A producer from Vogue Green spoke into a mic. "We're going live. That's right. A girl from Illinois just hijacked the centerpiece of the world's most exclusive floristry festival. And the fragrance? Field mint and sorrow. It smells like memory." The clip exploded on social media before the next exhibit even finished judging. In the corner, the London team, who'd spent 3 months designing a kinetic dandelion sculpture, stood frozen. The leader, a man in horn-rimmed glasses, scoffed. "We're not losing to folklore. This isn't even floral design. It's nostalgia in a box." A young intern beside him murmured, "Yeah, but it feels..." That word honest started to echo. People used it in interviews. There's something honest about her bouquet. It's not styled, it's honest. You can't fake that kind of honesty. And with that, the tide turned. The crowd moved from displays to simplicity, from technique to feeling, from competition to something older, quieter, truer. By 4 p.m., Claire's bouquet had been photographed over 900 times. Vogue Green posted the image with the headline, "The End of Perfect. A field bouquet rewrites the rules." Meanwhile, Claire just waited. No press kit, no team, no plan. She looked down at her box. Only one flower left. A crushed daisy, a little dirt on the stem. She picked it up, stood slowly, and walked toward the exit. Behind her, the whole room was still changing. The jury convened behind a velvet curtain. Inside the panel room, tension. A round table, 8 experts, 2 interpreters, 1 argument. "She's not even on the list," muttered the London judge. "No studio, no submission file." "But look at the data," said the French coordinator, flipping through a tablet. "That one bouquet has more engagement than the top 10 exhibits combined." "This isn't a social media festival." "No, it's a floristry festival," the Italian judge said quietly, "and she made us all feel something." A silence followed. Louis Montreux sat at the end of the table, not speaking. He sipped tea from a small ceramic cup, chipped, unpolished, clearly not from the sponsor table. When everyone had spoken, he finally raised his voice. "There is design in restraint. There is power in choosing what not to add." He stood. "She arranged what the earth gave her, and you all tried to impress me with what the industry could buy." No one argued after that. The vote passed. Unanimous. Meanwhile, in the main hall, the New York studio had begun tearing down their display, quietly, furiously. The lead designer barked at an assistant. "Get the scaffolding out. We're not staying for the mockery." Across the aisle, the Tokyo team debated whether to leave their flowers up at all. "It feels like a joke," one whispered. "Months of work, thousands of dollars. For what? A girl with weeds and no shoes?" The Milan group sulked beside their glowing wall of orchids. No one even looked anymore. Every tourist, every student, every blogger was clustered near the central podium. And that's when they noticed. Claire was gone. Someone ran to the side hallway. Another called security. She just left. She didn't take her badge. She didn't even wait for the results. But Claire wasn't lost. She had never been waiting. Outside, the sky had shifted. It was golden now. Claire stood near a food truck, sipping a lemonade, watching the clouds. She didn't have her phone out. She wasn't watching the festival's live stream. She was watching the wind move through a line of old city trees. A volunteer spotted her and rushed over, breathless. "They're looking for you inside. They want to give you the prize." Claire looked at her, then smiled, soft. I didn't come for a prize. Inside, the MC took the stage. The audience was buzzing. And now he announced the grand prize of the 2025 National Floristry Festival, awarded unanimously by the international jury. He looked toward the podium. Goes to Claire S., volunteer for a bouquet titled Piece of Home.
It's like a flash.
Applause, real stunned, rising applause. But no one came forward. Only the bouquet remained, wild and fragrant and still alive. By the time Claire finished her lemonade, she was viral. She didn't know it yet. She hadn't checked her phone. It was still in her coat pocket, turned off. But inside the convention center, the air had changed. The applause hadn't died down. It had evolved. Now it was strategic. Now it was valuable. A rep from a French cosmetics brand was already texting her assistant. We want her in the fall campaign. She represents real. We'll shoot in a meadow. A luxury retailer from California made a call. Find her agent. We'll offer 50 grand for exclusivity. Even the New York team, just hours ago mocking her, was rethinking. Maybe we can collaborate, one of them muttered. Post-ironic floristry. It's trending. Claire's name had gone from unknown to indispensable in 40 minutes. Meanwhile, back outside, Claire sat on a low wall near a bus stop, her box of flowers beside her. A man in a hoodie passed and glanced at her. You smell like my grandmother's garden, he said, half laughing. Claire smiled. That's probably the mint. She didn't know about the Vogue article yet. She didn't know about the repost from Zendaya's stylist. She didn't know that someone had taken a close-up of her hands arranging tansy and posted it with the caption, "Real beauty is dirt under your nails." It had 3 million likes. Back inside, the event staff scrambled. Where is she now? She didn't check out, she just left. But Vuitton needs her to sign the contract tonight. The show is in Paris in 4 weeks. She doesn't have a studio. She doesn't even have a business card. Then print one for her. But you can't manufacture what Claire had done. You can't replicate stillness. You can't package memory. That night, the headlines didn't mention color theory or design algorithms. They spoke of emotion, of absence, of a girl who left before she could win. The central bouquet was moved to a glass case, surrounded by velvet rope, labeled Claire S., a piece of home. Across the city, in a dim hotel room, a brand manager stared at his screen. No manager, no agency, no website, just a volunteer badge and a daisy. He sighed. Then he whispered the words that would soon be everywhere. She's the one everyone's been pretending to be. The next morning, Claire walked barefoot through her aunt's backyard. The grass was still damp, and wormwood brushed against her ankles. Bees moved slow and drowsy over the clover. Her hands were in the dirt by 7 a.m., pulling weeds, checking stems, lifting a fallen tomato vine with 2 fingers. This was the work that shaped her. Quiet, repetitive, holy. When she was 8, she used to lie in this same yard and talk to flowers like they were saints. The cornflowers were for joy. The mint was for headaches. The tansy was for sadness. Not to fix it, just to hold it. She never planned to be a florist. She just never stopped listening. Back in the city, her absence had turned into a phenomenon. People weren't just reposting her bouquet now, they were analyzing it. Design schools hosted emergency lectures on the aesthetics of uncurated beauty. An art historian called it a protest against precision. Her cardboard box had become an icon. And the brands, they were in overdrive. Emails flooded her unused Gmail account. Subject, let's build something beautiful together. Subject, from a patch of earth to Milan. Subject, Claire S., we are ready when you are. One florist wrote to her directly, no PR, no offer, just a single sentence. Thank you for reminding us why we started. Meanwhile, Claire watered the mint. She wasn't hiding, she just wasn't answering. Not yet. The press speculated, was it marketing genius, a myth, an intentional vanishing act? Someone on Twitter joked, she's not a florist, she's a parable. A TikTok account called @DirtSaints uploaded a video, hands tying tansy with mint over the sound of wind chimes. Millions watched. Everyone wanted to be Claire. But Claire was digging compost into dry soil. She looked up once at the far end of the fence where the wormwood grew wild. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. She wasn't thinking about the festival. She was thinking about the day her mother gave her a single daisy after a funeral. Because something still grows, her mother had said, even now. Claire picked a new daisy, held it between her fingers. It smelled like silence and beginnings. Back in Chicago, Louis Mantra stepped off a train. He carried only one thing, a sketchbook. Inside, the first page had one word, Claire. By the second week, everyone was making country bouquets. Studios in Brooklyn cleared their fridges of orchids and ordered wild chamomile. A fashion house in Milan launched a capsule collection titled Field Memory, featuring linen dresses the color of soil. One ad read, "Scent of the Earth, Spirit of the Future." But nothing felt like Claire. They used mint, yes, and daisies, and tansy, cut and shipped by the kilo. But every arrangement felt constructed, like someone trying to look uncombed by standing in front of a fan. One florist confessed it during a live stream. "We tried to copy her, but our hands were too clean." Meanwhile, Claire planted zucchini. She still hadn't responded to the Vuitton offer, or to the French press request, or to the art school that wanted to name a lecture hall after her. Her phone was still off. Her cardboard box was now filled with compost. The fashion world grew impatient. She's ungrateful. She's scared. She's playing us. One magazine editor scoffed on record. She stumbled into a moment and doesn't know how to handle it. But Mantra knew better. He sat alone in a park near the lake, his sketchbook on his knees. He had drawn her bouquet from memory 12 times. Each time it changed, not because he forgot, but because it had never been about the shape. He whispered to himself, "They keep asking what she arranged, but no one's asking what she refused to arrange." At a Paris showroom, a young designer tried to explain it to her boss. It's not that the bouquet was beautiful, it's that it wasn't afraid to be small. In New York, a copycat exhibit titled Weeds and Wonder flopped. Visitors said it felt curated. The flowers were too symmetrical, too perfect, too afraid of being ordinary. That was the secret. Claire's bouquet didn't beg to be noticed. It didn't explain itself. It had the same mystery as the people you only understand after they've left the room. And Claire, she was in the yard again, picking beans. Her aunt came out with lemonade and an envelope. "Another letter," she said, smiling. "This one smells like cologne." Claire opened it slowly. Inside, thick paper, a sketch of her bouquet, and one handwritten line, "Paris waits for you, but take your time. LM." Claire folded the letter, sat down in the grass, watched a bumblebee wrestle with a sunflower twice its size. Then, for the first time in weeks, she turned on her phone. Claire didn't call. She didn't email. She didn't post anything online. She wrote a letter on paper from the drawer where her aunt kept birthday cards and recipes. She used a pencil, no stamp, just folded it twice and gave it to a neighbor who drove long-haul trucks. "If you're ever near Chicago O'Hare," she said, "can you drop this at the post office?" The neighbor, a quiet man with grease under his fingernails, nodded. "Sure thing." And that was it. Inside the envelope was a single sentence. "If you're still planting, I'll come see the field." See, she didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. She started gathering seeds. In Paris, Mantra received the letter on a Thursday. He smiled, folded it, and placed it between the pages of his sketchbook beside a pressed cornflower from her bouquet. He didn't tell the press. He didn't announce anything. Instead, he reserved a corner space at the Louis Vuitton showroom, not for a showcase, but for planting. Literally, he covered the tile floor with soil, installed heat lamps that mimicked the sun at noon in Illinois. No cameras were allowed, no guests yet. Only a glass sign at the edge. Under cultivation. Meanwhile, back in Illinois, Claire packed her box. This time it wasn't flowers. It was seeds, wrapped in paper, labeled by hand. Mint, wormwood, wild fennel, zinnias, cornflower. She didn't bring a stylist. She didn't book a hotel. She bought a train ticket to New York, and from there planned to take the slowest route possible. No flights, no rush, just her, a duffel bag, and the weight of something not yet spoken. Her aunt hugged her tight. "If they try to change you," she began. "They won't," Claire said. At the station, someone recognized her. Are you the girl with the bouquet?" Claire just smiled. Kind of. The train rolled forward. That night, as Chicago lights faded behind her, she sat by the window and read a small paperback she had brought, Braiding Sweetgrass. Between pages, a sprig of mint fell out. She pressed it to her lips and let its scent hold her. Not as perfume, but as memory. And far away in Paris, Mantra was already digging. Claire took the long way, from Chicago to New York, then Boston, then a small plane to Reykjavik, then to Amsterdam. She didn't rush, didn't document, didn't post. She moved like weather quiet, real unbothered by destination. She slept in modest rooms with shared sinks, ate soup on benches, wrote down the names of plants she didn't recognize. In Maine, she picked yarrow from the roadside and left it in a diner booth with a note. This helped my grandmother breathe easier. In Iceland, she found a patch of lichen the color of ash and sat beside it for an hour, not talking, not thinking, just letting it be, like her bouquet. In the Netherlands, she found a florist who painted their windows with daisies. When they recognized her, the owner blushed. "I tried to do what you did," she whispered, "but mine felt—" Claire nodded. "It's okay to be safe," she said, "but if it costs you truth, it's expensive." She walked most of the way to the train station. Her shoes were worn, soles thin, but they made no noise. That felt important. To arrive gently, to not announce. Paris was waiting. But Paris didn't know how to wait. It pulsed. It wanted spectacle. By the time Claire's train pulled into Gare de Lyon, the city had prepared. Billboards had gone up with sketches of wildflowers and a single word, soon. Design blogs had guessed her arrival date like a royal countdown. But Claire walked out of the station with one bag and no coat. The air was soft, the light old. She didn't get into a cab. She walked. Montre met her outside the showroom at 6:30 a.m. He was watering the indoor garden, soil under his nails, no press, just work. Claire stepped inside, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The air smelled like thyme and stone. In the center of the room, rows of young plants, not arranged, not labeled, just growing. Claire knelt down. The cardboard box was still in her hands. Inside were seeds from her yard, packed in paper. Some still had soil on them. She handed it to him. He opened it. "This," he said, "is the real show." Claire looked around. "Do we have to display it?" Montre shook his head. "No, we just have to let it live." Outside, the world was still spinning. Headline sponsors, cameras waiting. But inside this garden, something else had begun. Not a launch, a planting. They called it the exhibition without a name. No posters, no invitations, just an open door and the scent of mint and soil drifting into the Paris street. At first, people passed it by. Too quiet, too plain. No velvet rope, no spotlight, just a single glass wall with condensation from the greenhouse inside. But one person went in, then two, then 20. And when they stepped inside, they didn't find arrangements. They found growth, soil, wooden benches, a tin watering can beside a tray of seedlings, field daisies in uneven rows, wormwood curling near the corners, one dandelion puff resting untouched. No one touched anything. They just stood. Something about the room made them whisper, even the children. No music, no narration, just the soft sound of water dripping from leaves. Claire stood in the back, no name tag, no podium, just her hands tucked into the pockets of her linen jacket. People looked at her, then looked away. It wasn't about her. It never was. Montre moved through the crowd like a host at a family gathering. He didn't guide anyone. He didn't explain. He only handed out seed packets, small brown paper folded by hand. Each one had a word handwritten on it. Joy, stillness, memory, truth. By noon, the place was full. No chaos, just presence. Someone cried. Someone knelt and touched the dirt. Someone whispered, "I forgot what breathing felt like." An editor from Vogue stood in the corner, notebook unopened. She didn't take notes. She didn't ask for a quote. She just closed her eyes. That night, the reviews came in, but there were no photos, no press kits, only descriptions. A bouquet that wasn't made, but remembered. A garden planted from silence. The moment floristry became prayer. Meanwhile, Claire walked alone through Montmartre, a baguette under one arm, mint in her pocket. A tourist stopped her. "Are you the one from the cardboard box?" Claire looked at him, then smiled. "Not anymore." Back in Illinois, her aunt opened a package. Inside, a single envelope of French soil. And a note. "Plant this when the rains come. Something different might grow." And something did. Not a show, not a brand, but a garden. The kind that doesn't win anything. Only heals.